Hello peeps, welcome to part 1 build of the minimum RC P80 Shooting Star. Now, a few things before I crack on with this. I would advise you, if you can get these little cups and things that you normally get with fast food companies and clean them out and get things ready, it's going to serve you well. And I've also got some parts in here, okay? So it saves you having to open everything all up and then wonder where everything is. The second thing is, and I'm going to turn over to the first page now, is they ask you to assemble the display rack. They call it a display rack. Now I've assembled this. I'm not going to insult your intelligence about how to assemble this. It's pretty self-explanatory. But what I did do was I put a wood die on it. So I've put a wood die on which is English oak. You may want to consider putting a wood die on just to make it look just that little bit more interesting. Okay, so why is this in one piece at the moment? Because it's going to be easier to show you how it's supposed to look first and then take it apart and show you how to put it together. You need to be careful because these are 3D printed parts and they are a little bit delicate. They're not hard plastic, and already, you know, there's where I've attached it here, you can see that it's weak. It's weak. So how do you put this together? Well, you get your wooden parts and your printed components. Now I'm going to take this apart. This just slides off. Everything slides off here. Okay, it's a bit of a tight fit there. Now what I've done, if I can just get this out without breaking it. Okay, what I've done is I've also written on the wood where the aileron servo goes, the elevator servo and the rudder servo, so that some later time you know what each servo does. Okay, now I've also pre-charged the battery, because at some point we're going to have to check these servos and I need to be sure that that has a good charge in it. I know that it will have a charge in it when it arrives in the box, but I've just charged it up just to make absolutely certain. Okay, and as I said before, I've got some bits here ready for when we go into the next part. So enough talking by me, let us begin. So what you need to do, you need to get this part on first, okay, and it goes this way around. Now on the inside you'll notice there's 2 slots. Okay, there's 2 slots. So what you do, you take your wooden part this way up, because you'll notice there's a slight bend on the back here, see, that way up, okay, and you'll notice that this tapers to the front. All right, at least I hope it does, because that's the way I'm doing it, and that these parts are at the back, which I think are the air intakes by the looks of them. Okay, and you sort of put that wood in towards those 2, sort of slide it until they start to rub against, and then they should guide themselves into the slots, which they are, and you'll notice that this slot here ends there and there, so you push that gently up until the end, until it stops and it can't go any further. Okay, it can't go any further than that, so don't go putting lots of pressure on it, just light finger pressure. Now the front end, you have to double check with the photos, but this shows that the top end is slightly longer than the bottom end. Okay, now I'm not going to start sanding these down or anything. I'm just going to go as is. All right, so this goes this way up. Now there's 2 slots here, okay, and what I have done is I've used a nail board just to slightly sand that down, because it's a bit of a tight fit in there, and as I said, you know, this is only thin plastic and you may end up damaging it, so you have to be gentle. And I just get one in and then the other, and then that just slots in nicely there. Okay, so now you've got that part and that part, and the instructions do have photographs, so you can follow this along quite easily. Okay, and there's nothing particularly difficult about it. It's just that it's an advantage if you see somebody else doing it. So now we come to the rear part. Now with the rear part, these slots face forward towards the nose. Okay, and that will then slide on from the back like so, and you'll know that you got the right way up because you would have marked where the servos go. You know, that's the top. All right, and that just slides on like that. Let's see if we get this right. So you see how that plywood juts out, and that slot there. So you can only go so far till it stops. All right, and I've had it on once, as you've seen, so it should go on again. Now I said, don't force it, just be gentle. If one side doesn't want to go in straight away, then do the other side, and that should go in. Now there you go, it started to go in there. Now it started to go in there, and you just make sure that's up to the end. Okay, that slides in. Be gentle. This is not tough plastic, it's just that 3D stuff. Okay, so I'm just double checking with the photo. Then, okay, you have to install what they call the wooden beam. Now this will be, I would highly suspect, because I've not looked all the way through the instructions, this will be for your wings. Now this will glue on. Let me see if I've got this right, because I did it right first time. Yeah, so this goes in. See these two cutout slots here, one here, that goes into there. Okay, and you'll see those, like, looks like two horns sticking up, and that rests against the inside of that fuselage there. Okay, and then all you have to do then is what we call wicking in. So you take your glue and you just dop it in. Okay, nice and neat, don't put too much on, and that will hold it in place. And then we will attach the servos. So I'm going to do that now off camera, because it's just going to take up too much time, because I'm trying to make these half an hour long if I can. Now, another Baron's topical tip: if you look in the bag with the glues in and the knife, which you get supplied with the kit, and there's also a posi-drive miniature screwdriver, you will find there's two glues. One is called UFO glue. I don't actually know what it stands for. I can't, well, I did know, but I can't remember. Now, if you get a Sharpie pen, mark it UFO, so then you can't go wrong. You know that's UFO glue. And the super glue tube is 502, so I've written 502 on the tube, so I know there's no mistakes. Now, you can't use the super glue or the 502 on anything that's foam. It will have a chemical reaction with it and make it melt. Do not use the super glue on the foam. Do not use the super glue 502 on the foam. You've been told twice. The UFO glue, you can glue the foam. Okay, that's what it's for. UFO is for gluing the foam. One last time, UFO is for gluing the foam. So I highly advise you to mark that UFO and mark the tube that says super glue as 502, and that will serve you very, very well. And we will need the screwdriver later, so I'll put that in the spares box We're going to need the battery shortly, so that's going to go in the spares box, and it's close at hand, and the knife. Okay, so you use this knife to cut out the plywood parts and whatever else you need to cut out with it, and it's one of those ones, it slides open, it's very, very sharp, and if you need to, you just snap off the end there and you get a nice fresh blade. Okay, right, so I'm going to stop there and glue it, and I'll come straight back, I promise. Okay, so now the glue is dried. It does say on the front of the instructions to let the glue dry, so that's exactly what I've done. And I've cheated a little bit, because what I have done is I've got the servos out ready, and I just want to point out a couple of things. Now, with the screws, okay, you've got a screw with a fat head on it, and then you get two little screws, okay, and they're the ones that hold down the servo. The fat screw goes in the top of the servo to hold the horn on. Okay, now as I said earlier, if you grab your bits and bobs before you need them and put them in a container, they'll be ready for you, and there they are. Now these go in quite easily, he said, and now I'm not using their screwdriver, because I have a set of professional screwdrivers that are magnetic, and I'll just show you a little trick in a minute, but if they're magnetic, they can stay on the end of the screwdriver, and then you can just offer them in, and they should, if they behave themselves, which they normally do, go in and you can start it. Okay, there you go, straight in. Now the beauty of these type of screwdrivers is this rotates here, so now you can do this sort of thing with it, be able to hold it. So line up the hole for the servo, grab your tiny little screw, okay, make sure it's on the end there, right, ooh, offer that in, and it should go in straight away, as so. Now a little bit of pressure on it just to make it bite. There you go, it's in. Do not over tighten them. Do not over tighten them. Okay, because you'll split the wood or something. And the ones with the fatter round head holds the horns on. What I do is, so I don't lose them, I just pop them in to the top of the servo, and there they are, they're ready. Okay, and I'll show you this little trick in a minute. There we go. Where did I get these from? I think Amazon, I think. This one's a 1.5 by 40mm screwdriver, if you're really interested. And I use these quite a lot, actually. There you go, that's in the top there. So you don't lose your screws. There you are, they're all there, and you won't lose them because they're already in place. So this is how it's shown on the instructions, and it shows you the top and it shows you the bottom. And please be aware that the aileron air servo is the opposite way up to the other two servos. Now this is my only criticism so far. You'll come to put this screw in on this rear servo, this is in the way to gain access to that screw. I think on reflection, I think you should put this servo in, okay, and then it allows you to install that there, and I think you'll have less problems. But that's the only thing so far. And as I said earlier, I've marked them aileron, elevator and rudder, so we know what they do and their purpose. Okay, now the little trick I was going to show you, and I showed this on my my last minimum RC videos with the Stuka, the JU87, which I will put a link in at the end of this. If I grab the screwdriver provided, if you can get a magnet, the stronger the better. Okay, do that with the magnet. Leave the magnet on it overnight, and it will magnetize this this screwdriver. Okay, and then be able to pick up your little screws like that. See, magnetizes it. So, and give it a nice rub. Okay, and that will magnetize that screwdriver, and it makes it easier to pick up the screws with that screwdriver. Okay, and I'll just put these back. This is where I keep my pins, and I know where they are and I can't lose them. Okay, so that's where we are with that right now. Now, install the servos, top view of the parts, install the servos, bottom view of the parts. So there we are. That's all glued in, the servos are in, and we're going on to page 4. Now, I forgot to mention right at the very beginning, this is page 1 of 25. So I've numbered the pages in case I need a reference as to where I am, even though the photographs are numbered. It's just for me because I'm an old person. Okay, duct components. Install the propeller by applying force at the center of the motor's bottom cover to avoid damaging the motor. Ensure that the propeller is fully seated and secured in place. So what they're talking about now I've not tried to fit this as yet, so that goes that way around there in the photographs. This one has a notch in it here, so that's that way in that photograph. Here is your impeller. They call it propeller, it's actually an impeller. Okay, and there's your motor, and that's a hanger on. Okay, so let's see what it says. It says duct components. Install the propeller by applying force at the center of the motor's bottom cover. And what they mean by bottom cover I don't quite know, but I always think that this pointy end here goes into that hole there. So offer that up, push it on. That went on pretty easy. It rotates freely. Okay, and I'm looking at it, I don't see any issues with that at all. I wonder if you put that in front of an airline, whether that would spin on it. Probably would actually. Okay, bottom cover to avoid damaging the motor. Ensure that the propeller is fully seated and secured in place. Well, that ain't coming off in a hurry, so I would say that's fully seated. Assemble the motor with the duct printed part, adjusting the motor installation depth to ensure the propeller blades are as close to the support as possible and rotate freely. Insufficient proximity can significantly affect thrust. Use adhesive to secure the motor from the rear end. Thread the motor cables through the wiring hole as shown in the diagram. So what they're showing me is, this is that way up. Okay. Possibly do with an extra photo actually. The one on the other side. Interesting. As you can see, I've not practiced this. Ah, I see, okay. So there's a photograph of the other side of it on page 6. So I'm going to put page 6 next to page 4. So what they're showing is, that's at the front. This goes on top. Let's get this right. This way round. Ah, hang on. Right, okay. Always best to do a trial fit. Always, 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 always do a trial fit. Okay. Now that's going to be fiddly. And what I'm going to do, so basically these two parts, so you got this part gets sticking up, okay, this here slots into that sticky up bit, okay, which then this arm here comes out at a right angle. So I'm going to practice that before I glue it, and I'm going to do a dry fit of the motor. So if that is shown there like that, I am presuming assemble the motor with the lubricant part, adjusting the motor installation depth to ensure the propeller blades are as close to the support as possible. Rotate freely, insufficient proximity can significantly affect the thrust. Use to secure the motor from the rear end. Thread the motor cables through the wiring hole as shown in the diagram. Well, it isn't a diagram, it is a photograph. And it doesn't actually show it. So I'm guessing that this cable goes through the center hole there, as shown. Okay, and then the motor should fit snugly into there like that. Okay, they don't actually show a photograph of that, but I'm presuming that's how it goes in, and allow that to impeller to move freely. Now that push that back a bit. Ah, now it moves freely. So what it's saying is don't push it all the way in because it won't turn. You have to push the motor back a little bit, a few mil, to allow the impeller to move. But you got to get it as far back as you can. So it's just keep adjusting it until it frees itself and doesn't hit the sides, and that's what you do. And then what I can see, they could have done with a better photograph really, but from what I can see, that lead then goes through that hole there, like so, and then that slot goes into that part there, and glue that on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fiddle with that and glue that together, and then I'll come straight back to you. Okay, so this is what it looks like. There's your cable coming out the hole. There is this upright coming out through that notch there. So it looks like that, okay? And that's what you see down that end, and this is what you see down this end, and you need to make sure that that impeller is free to move, okay? And that's what you end up with. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end it here because I'm pretty sure that's half an hour, and we will carry on because we need to set up the servo arms and connect up the motor and get everything connected up and see if everything works properly, which then includes getting your radio and binding your radio up and stuff like that by the looks of things. So we'll end it there. That's the end of part one. I hope you're going to stay with it, and just please remember that I don't charge anything for this. I don't ask for Patreon, you know, buy me a coffee or anything like that, buy me a beer. It's totally free. So if you want to do me a favour, just press the like button or share or sign up, and you'll see all the other projects that I've made, and just give us a thumbs up. Okay, thank you for your time. Cheerio.